Right now, as you're listening to this, something's happening in the shadows of global finance. China just sold $300 billion in US Treasury bonds. Japan followed, then Saudi Arabia, then Brazil. One by one, the world's largest economies are quietly backing away from the dollar. And your grocery bill, your rent increase. That's not random, it's connected to this. All of it. Think about this for a second. For 70 years, US Treasury bonds were the safest bet on earth. Safer than gold, more trusted than any currency. Countries bought them by the trillions. They were the foundation of everything. But something shifted. And what's terrifying isn't just that they're selling, it's why they're selling, and what happens next. Let me take you back, not understanding economics, but to understand a pattern, a cycle that's played out 5 times in history, and we're watching it happen again right now, in real time. To see where we're headed, we need to go back, way back, to Rome, 235 AD. The empire was unstoppable. Roads stretched across 3 continents. Trade flowed like rivers. Roman currency silver coins, called denarii, were accepted everywhere from Britain to Egypt. They were the dollars of their time. The global reserve currency. If you held Roman coins, you held power. But here's what most people don't know. The empire had a problem. Wars were expensive. Soldiers demanded pay. The treasury was running dry. So Emperor Caracalla made a decision. A small decision. He reduced the silver content in coins, just a little, from 90% to 50%. Nobody would notice, right? Merchants noticed immediately. Bread that cost 1 denarius last week, now it costs 2, then 3. Prices doubled, then tripled. Within 50 years, the Roman economy was in freefall. Soldiers refused coins, demanded payment in grain. Farmers hoarded food rather than sell it for worthless metal. The denarius, once trusted across the world, became scrap. Source: The Collapse of Complex Societies by Joseph Tainter, Cambridge University Press. And here's the connection you need to see. Your eggs went from $2 to $6 in 3 years. That's a 200% increase. Source: USDA Price Index 2024. The Roman coin lost 80% of its value. In the same timeframe, different centuries, same mathematics, same result. But Rome's mistake didn't die with the empire. It went dormant, waiting. And 7 centuries later, it awakened in a different form. Let me take you to Spain, 1550. The Spanish Empire just discovered something extraordinary in the New World: silver, mountains of it. Literally, the mines of Potosi and Bolivia produced more silver than had existed in all of Europe combined. Ships returned loaded with treasure. Spain was drowning in wealth. They minted coins by the millions. The Spanish real became the most powerful currency on earth. King Philip II thought he'd solved economics forever. Infinite money, infinite power. But here's what happened instead. Suddenly, there were too many coins chasing the same amount of bread. Prices exploded. In 50 years, the cost of wheat increased by 400%. Source: The Price Revolution in 16th Century England by Peter Ramsey. Spanish workers watched their wages by less each year. Peasants went hungry while silver piled up in royal vaults. The empire awash in precious metal went bankrupt 5 times. The same empire that discovered infinite wealth died from it. Sound familiar? The US has printed $5 trillion since 2020. Source: Federal Reserve Balance Sheet. K4202 for your paycheck stayed the same, but your rent jumped 25%. Source: Zillow Rent Index 2020 for more dollars. Same apartments, same mathematics, same trap. Notice the pattern yet? 2 empires, 2 currencies, both trusted globally. Both collapsed from the inside. But the cycle wasn't done. It was just getting started. Fast forward to November 1923, Weimar, Germany. Let me tell you about Anna Koch. She was a teacher. I am 43 years old. She'd saved her entire life, every mark, every penny for retirement. Her savings account had 100,000 marks. In 1918, that was enough to buy a house. By November 1923, it bought 1 loaf of bread. The Weimar Republic had a problem. After World War I, they owed impossible war reparations. So they did what seemed logical. They printed money. Lots of it. Prices doubled every 3 days. Workers demanded to be paid twice daily, morning and afternoon, because by evening, their morning wages were worthless. People carried money in wheelbarrows, not to show off, Because you needed a wheelbarrow full of cash to buy groceries. A single egg cost 320 billion marks. Source: When Money Dies by Adam Ferguson. Let me say that again, 320 billion for an egg. Anna's life savings, 43 years of careful savings, evaporated in 12 months. She lost everything, and she wasn't alone. An entire generation watched their money turn to dust. But here's the part that should terrify you. Germany didn't collapse because of war. The war was over. They collapsed because they tried to print their way out of debt. And right now, US national debt stands at $35 trillion. That's $270,000 per taxpayer. Source: US Treasury Department. October 2024, we're printing money to pay debt. The same strategy that destroyed Weimar. The same mathematics. The same warning signs. Your student loan payment is $503 a month. Source: Federal Student Aid 2024 median rent is $1,800. Healthcare premiums jumped 30%. Source: Kaiser Family Foundation. 2024, one paycheck. Gone. You're living Anna Koch's story. Just slower for now, the pattern continued. Fast forward to 1944. World War II just ended. The world's economies were shattered. Currencies were worthless. Nobody trusted anything. So 50 nations gathered in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. They made an agreement. A deal that would shape the next 80 years. The US dollar would become the global reserve currency. Every country would hold dollars, buy oil in dollars, trade in dollars. And to make it trustworthy, the US made a promise. Every dollar would be backed by gold. $1.35 per ounce. Fixed, guaranteed, forever. The dollar became the foundation of global trade. Countries accumulated treasury bonds, essentially IOUs from the US government, by the trillions. They trusted them because they were backed by gold, by something real. But then came August 15, 1971. President Nixon made an announcement. A brief speech. He closed the gold window. From that moment, dollars weren't backed by gold anymore. They were backed by ... trust, by faith, by the promise that the US government would honor its debts. And for 50 years, that trust held. Countries kept buying treasury bonds. China accumulated over $1 trillion. Source: US Treasury International Capital Report. Japan held $1.1 trillion. They were the foundation, the bedrock, the safest investment on earth. Until recently, here's what changed. In 2022, the US froze $300 billion of Russian assets. Overnight, with no warning. Source: US Treasury, OFAC, 2022 Russia held treasury bonds, dollar reserves, and suddenly they were gone. Seized, frozen, weaponized, and every finance minister in every country on earth watched and thought the same thing. If it happened to Russia, it could happen to us. The dollar isn't just a currency anymore. It's leverage, it's control. And that realization changed everything. China started selling slowly at first, then faster. In the last 2 years, China reduced treasury holdings by $300 billion. Source: US Treasury Tick Data, 2024. Japan is selling, Saudi Arabia is selling, Brazil, India, even traditional US allies all selling. Not because treasury bonds became riskier, but because holding dollars became a vulnerability, and they're buying something else instead. Gold, lots of it. Central banks purchased 1,136 tons of gold in 2022, the highest in 50 years. Source: World Gold Council, 2023. They're buying oil in yuan, not dollars. They're creating alternative payment systems, BRICS, currency discussions. Digital yuan, anything that bypasses the dollar. The pattern is repeating. Again, Rome debased their currency. Spain flooded the market with silver. Weimar printed without restraint. America weaponized the dollar. Different methods, same ending, loss of trust. And here's why this affects you. Why your grocery bill matters in this story. Every time a country sells treasury bonds, it affects interest rates. Higher interest rates mean higher mortgage payments. Your credit card, APR, your student loans, everything gets more expensive. The Federal Reserve tries to control this, but they're fighting history, and history doesn't lose. Your healthcare costs doubled in 15 years. Source: Kaiser Family Foundation. Your insurance covers less. You pay more. That's not random, it's connected to this. When the dollar loses global trust, inflation follows. When inflation rises, your purchasing power falls. You're earning the same, but it buys less every year, every month, every trip to the grocery store. Remember Bitcoin? It promised freedom from inflation, decentralization, financial sovereignty. It hit $69,000 in November 2021, then crashed to $16,000, a 77% collapse in 12 months. Source: CoinMarketCap. People lost everything. FTX collapsed. $32 billion vanished overnight. Source: FTX bankruptcy filings November 2022. Even new currencies follow old patterns. The mathematics doesn't care if it's gold coins or blockchain. Trust breaks. Value evaporates. People suffer. So here we are, 2025. Countries are dumping treasury bonds. Not because they want to, because they have to. Because holding them became too risky. And the US, we're at a crossroads. We're printing money to service debt. The same strategy that destroyed Rome, that bankrupted Spain, that annihilated Weimar Germany. But here's what's different, and this is crucial. We've seen this pattern before. We have history. We have warning signs. We know what comes next. The question isn't whether the pattern exists. It does. The question is whether we'll break the cycle or repeat it. 5 empires, 5 collapses, same stages, same warnings, same mathematics. Rome thought they were different. Spain thought they were special. Weimar thought they'd control it. They were all wrong. What makes us think we're the exception? Your rent increase tells a story. Your grocery bill writes a chapter. Your savings are losing value. That's not a subplot. That's the main narrative. And right now, we're in the middle of it. Not reading about it in history books. Living it in real time. I can't tell you what to do. I'm not a financial advisor. I can't predict when or how this ends. Nobody can. But I can tell you this. Every time this pattern played out in history, the people who suffered most were the ones who didn't see it coming, who trusted that someone else would fix it, who believed this time was different. It never is. So let me ask you this. When did you first notice things changing? Was it the grocery store? The gas pump? The moment you realized your paycheck doesn't stretch like it used to, drop a comment below. I read every single one, because your story matters. Your experience is data. And together, we can see the pattern more clearly than any economist in an ivory tower. And here's what I'm working on next. There's one move in history, one decision, that changed everything. One empire saw the warning signs, and they did something different. I'll tell you what they did and whether it worked. Next video. You won't want to miss it. If this made you see money differently, hit subscribe. More patterns, more history, more truth about what's really happening to your money every week. Thank you for watching this through. I'll see you in the next one.